Now let's do a correction quickly. This is 1F. If this is 119 degrees, x will be 2 times 119 degrees. Angle at center is twice angle at circumference. X equals 2 times 119 degrees. And the reason is angle at center is twice angle at the circumference. So that's 238 degrees. Now how do we find y? If we know x, we know that x plus y is 360 degrees, angles at a point. So that means y equals 360 minus x, which is the same as 360 minus 238 degrees. And that's equal to 360 minus 230 is 130, minus 8 is 122 degrees. That's the value of y. Now, z is half of y. This angle is half of this angle. Or better still, this angle is twice this angle. And the reason is angle at center is twice angle at circumference. So y equals 2z. Y, let me write it this way. Y is equal to 2 times z. Angle at center is twice angle at circumference. That therefore means angle z is equal to y over 2. And that's equal to 122 over 2, which is 61 degrees. And that's it very, very simply. So let's go to the next question. The next one is exercise 2C, number 7. Exercise 2C, number 7. Let's have a diagram. Exercise 2C, number 7. Number 7 of exercise 2C. This is the diagram. Now we have, let's see. Make sure the diagram is bold. And that's a triangle right there. There's another one here. That's another triangle. And there's a line here. Now let's label the angles. 10 degrees. This is R. This is U. This is V. This is S. And this is T. That's T. This is Q. This is 40 degrees. This is 60 degrees. And that's all. So we want to find all of the sizes of all of the lettered angles. First of all, I can see that this angle and this angle are angles in the same segment. This angle and this angle are in the same segment. They are. So that means they are equal. Angles in the same segment are equal. T equals 10 degrees. The reason is angles in the same segment. You must write that in brackets. Angles in the same segment. And how do you determine that? Let's even say that you look at this chord. Look at this chord. If you look at this chord, it divides the circle into two segments. This major segment and this minor segment. This small segment is a minor segment. So you check, look at that, you can see that these two lines meet at the circumference to form an angle. And these two lines also meet at the circumference to form an angle. Those lines that meet at the circumference to form an angle, they both touch the two ends of the chord that divides the circle into two segments. That's a trick for identifying the same segment angles. So that means the angles that they form at the circumference are equal. You must make sure that those lines meet at the circumference and they touch the ends, the two ends of the chord that divides the circle into the two segments, into a major and a minor, a major segment and a minor segment. So let's go. Here we can see easily what Q is. Q is equal to 180 minus 40 plus 60. We know that 40 plus 60 plus Q is 180. Angles in a triangle. So that means Q will be 180 minus 100, which is 80 degrees. That's a piece of cake. Now that we know Q, what else can we find? We have found T, we have found Q. What else can we find? Let's see that. Okay, we can also see that. If you like, I can do that. I can see that Q, I can see that Q, or don't let me do that. I can see that Q is an exterior angle to this triangle. Q is an exterior angle to this triangle. So that means it is equal to the sum of opposite interior angles. That means Q is equal to T plus S. I can use that to find S. Yes, I can use that to find S. Q equals T plus S. Q equals T plus S. Exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of opposite interior angles. And that means S will be equal to Q minus T, which is what's Q? Q is 80. What's T? T is 10. That's 80 minus 10, which is equal to 70 degrees. That means S is equal to 70 degrees. Now, let's go. How do we find the remaining angles? If S is 70 degrees, I can see that S is equal to R. How? Look at this chord. If you look at this chord, you'll see that this chord divides the circle into two segments. This major segment and this minor segment. So you'll see that these two lines, this line and this line, form a triangle. These two lines form an angle at the circumference of the circle, and these two lines also form an angle at the circumference of the circle. This one is S and this one is R. And you will see that those two lines touch the two ends of the chord. So that means the angles they form at the circumference are equal, and those are the angles in the same segment. So that means R is equal to S. This is just a trick to help you identify the angles in the same segment without mistakes. So without making mistakes. So R equals S. R equals S. Angles in the same segment. And that therefore means angle R is 70 degrees. So let's write down. You must remember all of the rules. Now we want to find U. How do we find U? Oh, easily we can see that U and 60 are in the same segment. Angle U is equal to 60 degrees. Let's check that. This is the chord that divides a circle into a minor segment and a major segment. Look at these two lines. They form an angle at the circumference, and these two lines also form an angle at the circumference, and they touch the two ends of the chord that divides the circle into a minor segment and a major segment. So it means these angles are equal. Angle U equals 60 degrees. So U equals 60 degrees. And the reason is angles in the same segment. What else? We need angle V. I can also see easily that angle V is equal to angle V. Let me clean that. Angle V, we can see that this is a chord. Let's look at that. If you look at this chord, you'd see that it divides the circle into two segments, a minor segment and a major segment. This is the major segment and this is the minor segment. So you'd see that this line and this line touch the endpoints of the chord and they form an angle at the circumference, which is 40 degrees. And this line and this line also touch the endpoint of the chord and form an angle at the circumference, which is V. So that means those two angles are equal. It means they are in the same segment. They are equal because they are in the same segment. So V is equal to 40 degrees. V equals 40 degrees. Angles in the same segment. And what else haven't we found? Let's check. And that's it. Very, very simply. If you know the rules, it's always a piece of cake. We want to find how many angles are we finding? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do we have all of them? Now let's see. T 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and that's all. And that's all. So we go to the next one, which is number 8. Exercise 2C, number 8. I think that's exercise 2C. Yes, 2C, number 8. Let's see the diagram here. This is the diagram. This is, let's sketch that. This is the diagram. This is center O. This is angle Z. This is angle Y. This is reflex angle W. This is X. This is 126 degrees. And we want to find X, Y, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, what do we do? First of all, W is 2 times 126 degrees. Angle at center is twice angle at circumference. You can see that the one at center is facing down and the one at the circumference is also facing down. So that means they are the center and circumference angles. X is also facing up at the center and Y is facing up at the circumference. So X is twice Y. You will see that the one at the center is facing the same side that the one at the circumference is facing. So W equals 2 times 126 degrees. Angle at center is twice angle at circumference. So that means that's 252 degrees. Now that we know W, I can find X easily. X will be equal to 360 minus W. And the reason for that is angles at the point. The sum of angles at the point is 360. So that means X equals 360 minus 252. And that's 360 minus 250 is 110, minus 2 is 108 degrees. What else? I know that X is 2 times Y. That means Y is half of X. So Y equals X over 2, and that angle at center is twice angle at circumference. So that means Y equals 54 degrees. What else do we need? How do we find Z? I know that Z plus Y is 180 degrees. Angles on a straight line. So Z equals 180 minus Y, which is 54. Sum of angles on a straight line, and that's 126 degrees. That's correct. And that's 126 degrees. And that's it, very, very simply.